Yo, what is going on, everybody? Episode 56 of many. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'm trying not to use the there as much as I can. One thing I'm practicing here, but I'm recording another episode here Saturday morning, as I told you I would be. So if you are watching us on YouTube, yes, I'm wearing the same thing. And it's the same morning. I'm just trying to give you guys some more content. I am preparing these episodes because I'm pre-preparing these episodes because I will be gone in Nashville and in Orlando, as I said on last episode. So if you're wondering why I'm going there, listen to the last episode real quick. Just listen to the first couple minutes. If you don't want to listen to the whole thing, whatever you want to do, you'll know why I'm heading over there. So if this is your first time listening, go listen to episodes 1 through 4. That will give you a little bit of background and history knowledge of how we are where we are today. We also did a couple really good interviews with Kyle, Nolan, Gavino to give you their point of view. We've got a couple other people who we're going to bring on yet. Ellie in particular. She is one of our main gym managers, kind of helps run the show for Grizzly Fitness. We're going to get her on and hear about some of her stories. Probably after I get back from Florida and Nashville, we'll schedule something with her so you guys can hear her story. And yeah, so if you've never listened to us before, we've got 6 gym locations. We've got Priority Fitness, which is a gym equipment install service sales company, and we own some real estate. So today's episode, I want to talk about maybe a little bit about real estate, mainly about finances. Just kind of give you guys some little financial tips. It's going to be a shorter episode. And I also wanted to talk about renting properties versus owning properties and kind of just some insights that I have or my opinions on some of that. So just what's happened with us in the past versus, I'll jump right into it. We prefer to own our properties as much as we can. And these are all commercial properties, of course, which can be a headache because there's a lot to upkeep and maintenance on a commercial property. So it needs to make financial sense all around. The reason we don't like to lease properties is because then we have a landlord and we have somebody that has to approve or deny things, and we only can put so much money into a property before it doesn't make sense, right? So a lot of leases are set up in a way. We've had leases with little dinky places in small towns, and we have some leases in major cities as well. And every lease that we've had has not been great. It's not been and nothing's ever really in your favor when you're leasing. In our big city lease, a lot of everything is basically on us besides like the roof and the parking lot, so we have to pay for, our hot water heater went out, that's on us, which I get it. If a toilet breaks, whatever, that's all on us. So basically you're leasing a space and anything that needs to be done to it, you've got to take care of it, which is okay. But at the same time, it kind of sucks because you don't own the place. You're putting a brand new hot water heater in it for the next tenant or whatever, right? So one thing I don't like about leases is that I wish there was, I don't own the property. Like I wish if I'm going to upgrade something, I want to be able to take it with me when I leave. So if I'm going to put a brand new hot water heater in it, if I leave, I want that hot water heater back, $4,000, $5,000, $3,000 or $4,000 for a commercial hot water heater. Like kind of feel weird about leaving that behind, right? So, but it is what it is. That's just how it works. So we've also had small town leases that also were not in our favor, but you don't really know what you're getting into in small towns and who your landlord is. And we had a very, very, very bad deal in actually our Princeton facility. So if any of our any of our Princeton gym goers are listening, or anybody who's been with us for some time and knows about this, we just had a really bad landlord, and he kind of owned the property, but he was buying it on a land contract. But all of the money we were, paying them was never really going. Like they weren't paying the land contract. Our roof would leak horribly. They never put a hot water heater in for us. The stairs were crumbling and falling apart. Lights were not working in the facility, and a lot of these things were supposed to be on them, but we just ended up taking care of a lot of that stuff ourselves. They originally said they were going to paint the inside of the building for us, so that way that was taken care of, but they never finished that project as well. So there's just all these things that just rubbed us wrong. We had another property that we were leasing, and again, this is kind of what sucks about leasing, and this was a month-to-month lease, which is even less protection for you. But when I first started, I wanted very minimal overhead. So we were leasing our property in Berlin, which was our storage facility at the time, our warehouse for Priority Fitness. And we only had a gym in Princeton and the one in Green Lake. And so we were leasing this place for stupid cheap. And I actually was subleasing some of our space to another guy who's just giving me a couple $100 cash a month. And it was covering my expenses. Then he had moved out. He was just storing a semi there. He had moved out for like, let's say 2 months. Then he comes back and says, "Hey, Colton, I just want to let you know, like, I bought the place and I need you to work on moving out. I don't know if the owners told you that they sold it, but I bought it recently and I'm going to be moving in here soon." So that rubbed me the wrong way, of course, but he ended up working out. He ended up working with us, letting us, kind of condense our equipment from here to there and slowly move out of there, and then worked with us, like gave us some extra time and didn't really charge us because obviously it put us in a bind. But the positive of that specific scenario was it caused us to buy our Berlin location and go all in on another gym and warehouse. So that was our first property we purchased because we got kicked out of that property. So anyways, leasing versus owning, again, when you own properties, you're responsible for everything. For example, this Watoma property that we're in right now, massive parking lot. There's always weeds. There's potholes that come. We should really reseal the blacktop, but it's just our parking lot's so expensive and it's so large, and our building is massive, right? So like it's just there's so many things we could always be doing. There's things that these buildings always take. The parking lot always takes. There's just so many expenses that you don't really think about. When you buy a property, you're just like, oh my gosh, I'm so happy it's mine now. A house is totally different, but a commercial property, it's just I feel like it's always ongoing. There's always stuff to be done. And the way that I currently look at things is I like to use cash flow to make repairs, to fix things, to renovate, to update things. I don't love taking out like equity or loans to do that kind of stuff. It's just not something I've done and not something that I currently want to do. I like to make the business's cash flow and then use that cash to then make our properties better, essentially. So it's my current mindset. That might change. Maybe at some point it does make more sense to just take out a bunch of money out of the equity we have built in properties and just get all the projects done. I do like the mindset of like always working on things, because then it always, from the outside, it always looks like we're getting stuff done. We're always improving. I don't necessarily want to buy a building and then like make it perfect and then it's just done, right? Because then from my perspective, if I was a gym member, I would then always be looking for other upgrades, like always new equipment, right? Like, how do I know that my membership money is going towards this facility and getting better? So I do enjoy like that there's always projects to be going on, because I feel like you guys, anybody who's a gym member can see that we're always constantly putting money back into our properties and our facilities, because that's just what we're doing like all the time. We're always trying to figure out how can we improve and make things better. So for those of you who do know there's projects around the facilities that aren't done yet, we only have so much time and we only have so many guys, and we also only have so much cash flow. So there's only we can only work so fast and so quick. So I know there's probably things that you're thinking about. They're like, oh yeah, that window in Watoma is still out. Well, we're waiting for our glass guy to come and actually put that in for us. For those of you who, and I'm going off topic here, but for those of you who know about the glass incident in Watoma, for those of you that don't, I'll just tell you a very brief story. We had a guy coming in about 2:30 in the morning. He walked into our front doors, which are like always accessible, but then our next two doors in Watoma, that's how you have to swipe into the next two doors. This is an old grocery store for those of you listening. So there's 2 in and out doors you walk in, and there's 2 more in and out doors that are like that. Those doors are always locked, and you have to have a key to get into our facility. Key fob. And so this guy walks into the indoor, and then I don't know what he was thinking, but there was drugs involved and whatever else. So he decided to back up to the wall and run and sprint through our window. And he ended up bouncing off the window, but the window shattered. And we have for those of you that don't know Watoma, it's like an atrium, right? So we've got like 3 windows and 3 windows. So it's kind of like an L or 4 and 4 or something. So it's like a glass atrium with single panes that just kind of keep going. So he ran right through it, bounced off, cut himself, was bleeding all over the place. We found it the next morning, and it was like a Saturday or a Sunday morning. So we had some staff come over and cleaned it up. But the reason I'm saying this, the thing that sucks, 1, we own the building. 2, we have to have insurance on the building. 3, our deductible is too high that window is going to cost us like around $2,000, but our deductible is like $2,500. So we just had some random guy on drugs come and run through our building, and we have no choice but to pay for it out of our own pocket, which sucks because why is that our responsibility? Like, I know we own the property, but like this guy, I mean, it's just unfortunate situation, right? So, but that's what you get. You own your properties, you have to take care of that kind of stuff. And so something to consider if you're going to buy something, there's a lot of cost that goes into it, I guess what I'm saying. I feel like I'm rambling, but this goes for all of our facilities. We had somebody at our Berlin facility drive right into the side of our building. Didn't tell us about it. I didn't even notice it right away until we saw like basically a car indent on the side of our building. This one we fixed ourselves. We pulled the tin back. We had our handyman pull the tin back and then kind of punch it back out and fix it as needed. So again, not much cost there. We also built a new front entrance for Berlin, like, I don't know, 2-3 years ago, or maybe 2 years ago. That was just basically like an overhang, a walk-in entrance. So that way you can, there's less pressure on the door. And within like a week or two of that, somebody had backed into that as well. And of course, didn't say anything. So again, there's just these things that happen as you own properties. And not everybody's going to care about your property like you do, especially if you have like we just always have people coming and going. So things are going to happen. I get it. Mirrors breaking, holes in walls, right? That's all just little maintenance stuff that happens. So anyways, I guess the only thing I'm really saying is there's a lot of pros and cons to owning versus renting. You have to kind of weigh them out. Review your lease before you sign anything. Maybe give it to an attorney and make sure there's nothing kind of in there that screws you. I like to keep low overhead. I like to kind of go month to month. I do not like to sign long-term leases, mainly because we're like opening a business in them. So I'll do like a year lease, keep my risk low if I can, if I'm willing to negotiate down that low, obviously with an extension option in that lease as well. So if I can keep my overhead low, if the lease makes sense for me, that's cool. I kind of look more at leases if we're going into facilities. We're actually looking at maybe leasing a space right now. And the only reason we're debating that is just because the overhead's low. There's no properties in town, and it's like a risk. We're going to maybe be starting something different and just seeing how it goes. So there's nothing set in stone. I'm just telling you kind of what goes through the mind of myself as a business owner, right? So anyways, we'll move on from the lease versus owning. I thought maybe you guys would enjoy that. Just make sure you know what you're getting into. If you've never owned a building before, talk to people who do own buildings. Understand things that you don't realize. Learn how expensive a roof's going to be. Make sure you know what kind of roof is on your building, right? Like we've got tin roofs. We've got like a flat roof that is like tar or like a flat tar roof or a flat rubber roof. Sorry. So you have to understand, like, how do you repair those? How do you replace those? Like, what is that cost going to be? How long does that roof last? Like, when can I expect to do that? Look into like how expensive it is to seal seal blacktop or fix potholes. I mean, like those are expensive costs that like we didn't know until we're like, oh shoot, we should probably fix these potholes. So there's always stuff that you don't anticipate. Maybe you want to put some new concrete out front. You want to have a new sidewalk. You need to redo all the electrical in the building. Whatever it is, make sure you talk to somebody who's been in those shoes before and let them give you some insight. So let's go into more financial stuff. I was thinking about this last night, and again, this is Saturday, so you guys are listening to this over a week later, but we had Scott Carpenter on a couple weeks ago when I was in Arizona, which kind of just briefly touched base on some financial stuff. I've done a couple, maybe 1 or 2 episodes on like credit cards and some financial tips, but I think we've got some new listeners and some people who probably haven't listened to those episodes. So one thing that I would really like to throw out there, and I recommend this for everybody, is I think savings accounts, a generic savings account. You go to Chase Bank, Hometown Bank First, whatever, and you set up a checking account and they ask if you want to set up a savings account. My opinion, the answer is no. I do not want to set up a savings account. There's no benefit to a savings account. There's no benefit to having a savings account at the same bank that your checking account is at. Everybody uses mobile banking. Every time you go into your mobile banking app and you go to your checking, you're going to see your savings. it's not hidden enough from you for one. Like the only benefit I can see a savings account for would be that it's out of sight, out of mind. But if it's at the same bank you're already banking at, it's not going to be out of sight, out of mind. You're going to see that money. You're still able to touch that money. Like I don't like it. The reason savings accounts were originally, a thing was, years and years and years ago when our parents were growing up, and I say our parents, back in the 60s, 70s, whatever, a lifetime ago or a long time ago. I'm sorry, I feel like I'm using a lot of shitty words to describe this, but 50 years ago, 40 years ago, 70 years ago, savings accounts had interest rates on them. Like you would make money on your savings accounts, and now it's like 0.001%. You don't make any money off a savings account. So the only reason it was ever created was so the banks had more money in their, the banks had more money in their savings essentially, and they would pay you for keeping money in your savings account. So now the savings is kind of dated. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So if you do have a savings account, good. I'm glad you're saving money. Hopefully you're not touching it. Hopefully you never even really look at it. Hopefully you just have like money that gets auto deposited every week, month, year, whatever. My recommendation, if you do want to keep a traditional savings account, which I don't think you should, would be to have it at a different bank or make sure however it's set up in your current bank that you don't really see it. You just got auto deposits going to it. What I would recommend is your money comes into your checking account. And so what I think a lot of people like to do, what I like to do for our businesses for sure, is you kind of get comfortable with seeing a number in your checking account. And the more money you have in your checking account, the more likely you're willing to spend it, right? The more money you see, the more you're like, oh, I'm comfortable. I've got money. I can afford rent. I can afford my car payment, whatever. Let me go buy something. Let me go shopping, right? That's like the general attitude. Not a good attitude to have. And it's also not great to just hold a bunch of money in your checking account. It doesn't do you any good. You should really just kind of have you should know kind of where that balance is of what you need to get by for, say, the next 2 months. Like, do I have enough money in my account to pay my average credit card bill? Do I have enough money in my account to pay my house, my mortgage, my rent, my car payment, my insurance, whatever, right? Like you should kind of know, okay, hey, if I have $3,000 in my account for the month, that usually covers me pretty well, or $5,000, $10,000, whatever your amount is. So you should get comfortable with that amount, and that's all you should keep in your checking account is just enough to get by, and that should be your main account that you're kind of like utilizing to, again, pay off your credit cards and live off of. What I recommend is what Scott calls is a sweep account. And a sweep account is kind of like your money comes into your checking and then you sweep it over into this other account. And so for those of you who know what a high yield savings account is, I hope you're using it. For those of you that don't know what a high yield savings account is, we talked about it very briefly with Scott. A high yield savings account is something that everybody should have their money in. This is, there's no risk. It's not invested in the stock market. It's not scary. It's a high yield savings account. Your money's safe. Your money's going to be sitting in a savings account. It's going to be in a different account than like your traditional checking account, right? So for me, I've got mine set up with American Express. I have American Express credit cards. It was super easy for me to open up an Amex high yield savings account. Now, your high yield savings account pays you out a percentage, just like the original savings account used to. The current rate is 3.5%. It's nothing crazy, but it will help fight inflation. And if you're sitting on money in your checking account or your savings account and it's not growing at all, you might as well put it in something safe that is going to grow. Now, that 3.5% does vary depending on who you're using, but there's only a couple of really good options for high yield savings. That percentage can vary. It can't go negative. It can't cost you anything. It can go to 0%. It just depends on the market. It depends on interest rates currently out there. Obviously, at one point when I first got into it a year ago, we were at like a 5% payout, 5% interest on that money, and that's annually, of course. So again, if you've got a good chunk of change you're sitting on, 5% adds up, right? So helps fight inflation. You do pay taxes on your gains, but that's not a very big deal. I mean, again, it's free money, right? Your money is just sitting in an account, and you are getting dividends from it essentially. So high yield savings is highly recommended. Do some research, find where you want to do your high yield savings. But if you've got any money you're sitting on, even if you can put $500, $1,000, if you've got $20,000, if you've got, again, $250 that you don't need to spend, put it in your high yield savings. Now, you can't access this money unlimited. Like, you can't just pull money from it every day. It's not set up to do that. I think you get like 2 or 3 withdrawals a month or something if you really need to take money out of it, but it's really to set money aside and to let it grow. So checking account, everybody needs. Savings account, do not utilize. You should move all of your money into a high yield savings. Now there is, like, I also use Thrivent for some services. There is what's called like a money market, which then does get invested into the stock market. But it can't go negative. It can go down to zero. But the money market is basically like a high yield savings. So with like Thrivent, when we started doing a money market there, my goal for the money market with Thrivent was actually to utilize our business accounts and just like put some money aside each month into the money market. So say Grizzly Fitness is putting $500 a month into the money market and Priority Fitness is doing the same. My goal with that was to basically set money aside out of the account so we don't see it, and mainly have it set aside to let it grow a little bit, but also so we had money set aside for taxes. Because remember, 30% of the money that you see goes right back to the government, right? So getting some of that stuff moved over. So the money market's also a very good option if you want to do something like that. Again, it varies 5%, 3%, just depends on what the market's doing. So look into if you've got some money, if you are saving money, if you are saving money into a savings account. Like, yes, you can have a Roth IRA, you can have a 401k, you can have all these like retirement plans, but for the money that is just sitting there growing or stagnant in an account, move it over into a money market, move it over into high yield savings. That is like the first and foremost. Like, everybody should be doing this. It's stupid not to do it. Whether it's $50 a week, $50 a month, $100 a month, $100 a year, like, start moving money over into that high yield savings. Let it grow. And I was trying to sleep last night, and that popped in my mind. I'm like, everybody should be doing this. And if you're not doing it, you need to learn about it and you need to start doing it. So that is kind of where I wanted to leave off. I wanted to give you guys that as a side note, as a financial tip of the day. If you have questions on that and you're curious about it, you're nervous about it, shoot me a message. I'd love to help you out. My goal is to help bring you up to the next level. So the big people do this kind of stuff. They like to move their money into these accounts. They grow. It's, again, fighting inflation. It's very important that you're doing this. So talk to me, shoot me a message, add me on Snapchat, colton.burt, Colton.Burt. Instagram, Facebook, coltonburt19. Shoot me a message wherever. Let's talk about it. I'll give you some insight. If you've got a certain kind of savings account set up, you're doing this or doing that with your money, and you want to get a little, like, I'm not a financial planner. I'm not a financial, I can give you some input on what I do. I'll give you some advice. I'll give you some feedback. So let me know. I'm not going to tell you to invest into stocks. I'm not going to tell you to do like this high risk. I'm not telling you to do anything crazy. So let me know what you think. Let's connect on that. I really do want to hear. I really do want to help people out financially as well. So whatever we can do to help bring you up to the next level, help set you up for financial success in the long term, we do want to start working on that portion of this podcast as well. So hopefully you guys take something away from that. I feel like I was a little bit rambling this episode, but hopefully you learned something today. So appreciate you guys. We will see you on the next one.